Oz, an American genius.
Monday night at 8 on MPT. Programs on MPT are made possible by our members and the following.
We at Sage Policy Group recognize that this is a challenging period for households and businesses. But Marylanders are intelligent, strong, inventive, and entrepreneurial. Eventually, this economy will bounce back stronger than ever.
University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, leading the way on Chesapeake Bay restoration, while guiding our state, nation, and world toward a more sustainable future.
71 acres in downtown Baltimore devoted to learning, discovery, care, and service. We train the professionals who secure the health, well-being, and just treatment of Maryland citizens. We create the knowledge that cures disease and strengthens communities across the state and around the world. UMB makes the world more just, more enlightened, healthier, and more humane. We are UMB.
This program is made by MPT to enrich the diverse communities throughout our state and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you.
A deal on taxes.
We have a $2.5 billion cash reserve.
To do all the great things that we've done in this budget is pretty amazing.
The Chesapeake Bay flooded with sewage.
A total failure to properly operate and maintain this world-class facility.
And recreational marijuana heads to the voters.
I don't really see the harm in it.
I am completely against it.
For 40 years, connecting Marylanders to their government, this is State Circle.
Good evening. The big story around State Circle this week is a tax break. This afternoon, the governor and legislative leaders signing a bill that helps retirees and parents and the long-term unemployed. Sue Copen has our report.
I don't think any of us who currently work around here have ever seen a year like this.
House Appropriations Committee Chair Delegate Maggie McIntosh is now in her 30th session at the State House. It's a year that includes a projected budget surplus of $7.6 billion, due in part to federal COVID-related help. But that's not the whole story.
Our revenues are doing great too, and sales tax is up, transfer tax is up, capital gains is up. So yeah, we are having an extraordinary historic year.
This week, the governor, Senate President, and House Speaker announced an agreement to use some of those funds for a nearly $2 billion tax relief plan. That plan includes a tax credit for individual residents 65 and older making up to $100,000 in retirement income, or married couples making up to $150,000 in retirement income. Tax exemptions for child care products and critical health care products, including dental hygiene, diabetic care, and medical devices. A work opportunity tax credit to encourage employers and businesses to hire workers from underserved areas of the state, as well as individuals facing barriers to getting a job.
They may be in poverty areas, maybe people coming out of jail, maybe some folks who are on lower income, like temporary cash assistance, so they might be considered a higher risk to employ initially. But this was an incentive to businesses to hire folks that might have some barriers to employment or some challenges.
Included in the items soon to be tax exempt: baby diapers, baby bottles, and items like thermometers and blood pressure devices, along with oral hygiene products like toothbrushes. There's also funding for raises for healthcare providers.
A 4% rate increase to our providers who do foster care, developmental disability care. I mean, all of the providers help to our hospitals and nursing homes to make sure that they're fully staffed.
Also included, $800 million from Maryland's Blueprint for Education.
One of the reasons that we put $800 million into the Blueprint Fund is the Blueprint Fund is fully funded through at least FY27. This $800 million now in FY23 is a down payment to say we can't tell the future, but we need to make smart decisions now.
And the state's rainy day fund will benefit as well.
We have a $2.5 billion cash reserve. That was very intentional so that In the case that something happens, we have cash sitting on the side so that we don't have to cut into critical services.
You know, to be able to say blueprints paid for, and to be able to say if it starts raining, we're prepared, and to do all the great things that we've done in this budget is pretty amazing.
In Annapolis, Sue Copen for State Circle.
The governor signed that bill, but he is expected to have the veto pen out soon. Lawmakers gave approval this week to a long-sought family and medical leave program. Business leaders call it a $1 billion payroll tax. Climate change legislation won final approval. The bill targets net zero emissions by 2045. Senate sponsor Paul Pinsky said the bill is an important step, but not the bold step he had first proposed. And a bill to train non-physician medical providers to perform abortions is on its way to the governor. A proposed abortion referendum was left out of that bill. Last week, a judge threw out the state's new congressional map, calling it extreme gerrymandering. This week, the legislature approved a completely new map, sending the matter back to the courts. Charles Robinson has this update.
It's still very much a partisan gerrymander. It still cuts jurisdictions like Baltimore City, Montgomery County into 3 congressional districts for no other reason really than to maximize partisan advantage.
A new map was drawn, and it's slightly better than the old one, but you know, the initial map was 8 Democrats, 0 Republicans. The judge says that's extreme partisan gerrymandering. So they come up with a map that is 7 Democrats, 1 Republican. So that is not a remedy.
There are no shortages of maps. There was one drawn by the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission, appointed by the governor, and the Legislative Redistricting Advisory Commission, drawn for the legislature by the staff. Now there is a third map complying with the judge's order. Judge Lynn Battaglia, in her order last Friday, called the map passed by the legislature a violation of Article 3, Section 4 of the Maryland Constitution. In the 94-page ruling, Judge Battaglia concluded partisanship was a predominant factor in the legislature's first map. The judge called the plan an outlier and a product of extreme partisan gerrymandering.
The map that was passed today in the Senate is under a different set of standards than the map that was passed in December. So for the last 160 years, the Maryland Constitution did not apply to the drawing of congressional maps. On Friday, the district court judge put forward an order that laid out a brand new standard that said that the legislature's drawing of congressional maps is subject to the provisions of the state constitution.
The map approved by the House and the Senate did so once again along Democratic Party lines. To add to the potential showdown in the courts is word that Attorney General Brian Frosh plans to appeal Judge Battaglia's ruling.
When you look across the country, there have been varying standards for the approval of maps. And there is an open, great legal question as to whether the judiciary, and this is the U.S. Supreme Court, has opined to a degree on whether the judiciary has the ability to draw a map when there is a clear outlined provision that legislatures are in charge of redistricting.
There is a strong likelihood that all the cases in Maryland could become consolidated here at the Court of Appeals, and they could render the final verdict. In Annapolis, I'm Charles Robinson for State Circle.
The Senate has approved a measure that would legalize small amounts of recreational marijuana. It would only take effect if voters get the opportunity to have their say in November. Here's Nancy Amata.
Small amounts of marijuana, I don't really see the harm in it, to be honest. I mean, it's not like, it's like super, super dangerous, I don't think.
I'm not a smoker, but, I'm certainly not opposed to individuals having that, that right to have that sort of freedom.
Their opinions align with the latest Goucher College poll that suggests 62% of Marylanders approve legalizing recreational marijuana, although this woman we met in Germantown disagrees.
I am completely against it. I am a mother of 3 kids, and I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Somehow, some way, kids find a way to get access to things that they shouldn't because it's in their home.
This bill only applies to folks 21 and older. Okay, so this is adult use.
Senator Brian Feldman points out his bill would only legalize personal use up to 1.5 ounces and allow adults to cultivate up to 2 cannabis plants starting July 2023. It would also require the state to release some people who are currently behind bars for marijuana-related offenses. Their records would be expunged too.
So after a majority of Marylanders weigh in and approve this and say, yes, let's move to adult use legalization, the idea that we would warehouse still in our state tens of thousands of Marylanders who are in jail for these very small possession offenses, I think doesn't make a lot of sense.
Delegate Jason Buckles says he supports a referendum, but voters need to really understand what they might be approving come November.
It's going to be allowed in public. It's not going to be a criminal offense to smoke marijuana on the street corner or to smoke marijuana outside in a place where you might be playing with your kid.
He believes there needs to be restrictions similar to alcohol on where cannabis can be consumed.
If you say that there's similar types of products used for similar purposes by people, then why wouldn't you regulate them similarly? And that's really, I think, what we would like to see happen is some logical connection between how we deal with alcohol, how we deal with its use, how we criminalize aspects of its use, with how we deal with marijuana.
Should Maryland move forward with legalization, lawmakers say the next session will focus on the marketplace, the particulars of who will get a license to grow and sell to the public.
As having dispensaries and growers and processors and other licenses for a full-blown market, as is the case in many, many other states.
I'm Nancy Yamada for State Circle.
Our newsmaker this week is the Maryland Secretary of the Environment, Ben Grumbles. Sir, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Jeff.
You, Sunday, used your authority to have the state take control of the 2 biggest sewage wastewater treatment plants in the state. Why was that necessary?
It's an urgent situation, and it required a strike team emergency response, and we focused it on the Back River wastewater treatment plant because of shocking discoveries over the last several weeks.
What has been found there?
A total failure to properly operate and maintain this world-class facility, the Back River wastewater treatment plant that the state has put almost $1 billion into. Our inspectors found that only a couple of these primary settling tanks were working. It was like only putting 2 men on the basketball court when you're supposed to be putting 5 men on it.
The result of that was untreated, partially treated sewage heading into the Back River, heading into the Patapsco.
That's right. And it particularly focused on the facility itself. More evidence of untreated wastewater solids that might have been slipping through. Very important to take immediate action, and that's what we did.
Might be worth reviewing why the $1 billion was spent upgrading these plants, and actually plants all over the state, because I mean, there's an ick factor obviously in what goes into a sewage treatment plant, but it's not just that, it's the nutrients that get into the waterways that get into the Chesapeake Bay.
Maryland is so proud of the environmental leadership that's been shown over the decades and including over the last 7 years to put the money into these world-class wastewater facilities, particularly Patapsco and Back River. Removing that excess nutrient pollution has been one of the keys to making real progress for the Chesapeake Bay, but also local water quality and public health.
There was a previous order late last week demanding compliance from the city, which operates these plants. You've talked to the mayor. What was the response?
Well, the mayor was very appreciative of the engagement, said he wanted it to be a partnership. I agree. We're all on the same team. However, we have different roles, and MDE is more of the referee here, and we needed to step in and take immediate action. So we issued an order. I issued the order, a very extraordinary step to get compliance based on the more recent inspection we did where things were really in disarray. And he said he looked forward to more resources and a partnership on that front.
Is this two questions? Is this a hardware problem or a management problem? And does it differ between the two plants?
From our perspective, the theme which also runs throughout our lawsuit, our comprehensive lawsuit against the city in January, is without the right number of people properly trained on site, focused on protecting and operating these resources, then you end up getting equipment and facilities problems. So it's more of a manpower problem than it is a hardware problem.
These are obviously sometimes unpleasant places to work at a time when it's hard to fill regular jobs for regular organizations. Is it a staffing problem, and is it limited to Baltimore?
Here's the answer. The infrastructure makes it happen. It can become a glamorous job. It's a critical infrastructure responsibility. Having entrepreneur efforts with the private sector, having apprenticeship programs. Our real focus, working with the city, with the federal government, with others, is to bring more people, more talent, more training and attention to this critically important asset that is vital to local water quality, but also the whole Chesapeake Bay restoration effort.
Last year, we did a story when a volunteer riverkeeper group noticed, reported on, complained about the high bacteria levels around the Baltimore area. Why was that picked up by volunteers and not by the state government?
It's never been in lieu of state government action. The citizens groups like Blue Water Baltimore and others provide a valuable role to supplement the eyes and ears of the state inspectors and the federal inspectors. We've welcomed this all along. We will continue to carve out a special and important role for organizations to help bring attention to us. And that also has helped us in recent months to identify potential fish kills, for us to then send people on the scene immediately to work with citizens and community groups. It requires a team effort, and I feel like we're getting that throughout the Chesapeake Bay, but particularly when it comes to the problems in Baltimore with the 2 wastewater treatment plants.
Does the Maryland Environmental Service, which is sort of a quasi-public organization that runs a lot of small sewage treatment plants around the state, do they have the manpower? Do they have the resources to do what you're asking them to do? And second part of that is, how long do you think it's going to take until we're back to a reasonable amount of treatment for the sewage?
They're a uniquely important resource to deploy to this situation. So it's kind of like when we saw that the team was only putting 2 men on the court and should have had 5 and a backup bench. We, as the referees, called in an additional coach with expertise. That would be the Maryland Environmental Service, to immediately bring on 10, 16 people doing immediate assessments. This is a temporary takeover to lead to a lasting makeover. And Maryland Environmental Service is not intended to be there forever. But we're going to take one step at a time, get the coaches' insights on how to make immediate upgrades and lead to lasting improvements.
Mr. Secretary, is this a separate issue from what happens when we get big storms, big gully washer rainstorms, and those high volumes of water flow into drainage areas? And in the big cities, Baltimore and Washington, DC especially, I think some of the pipes combine, and you wind up with these big dumps of sewage into rivers that feed into the bay. That's different from this?
No, all connected. It's all connected, but some of the maintenance and operation problems that are happening at the Baltimore wastewater treatment plants are not solely related to wet weather situations. It's twofold. One, with climate change, wetter, wilder, warmer weather, you're going to have a need for more strategies, more hardware. And Baltimore has been investing in that, and Maryland and the federal government have. But you also need more people to manage those increased flows and risks and flooding from the wet weather. But it's some of this, Jeff, which prompted us to take immediate action and send in the strike team, MES, is based on very correctable, unacceptable situations where they don't have enough of the settling tanks or the clarifiers or the filters in place in operation, don't have a proper number of people there. They need help, and we're bringing in more forces to help them with that regular operation and maintenance for longer term sustainability, particularly with climate resiliency needing.
You know, some legislators have been critical of your agency for taking fewer enforcement actions than the previous administration did. I understand you've tried to have a more collaborative approach, but is this situation and the length of time that it's been building an indictment of that approach?
No, we focus on collaboration, but the first primary goal is ensuring compliance and making sure that when there is not compliance, enforcement is taken. We have been providing regular oversight. We are bringing in enforcement actions. We are getting improved results. There are situations, though, like this one, where it's a glaring example of the need for more involvement and intervention. And that's why we sued the city in January. And now with these recent discoveries, why we're taking these extraordinary steps. We certainly put a priority on oversight and inspections, and we will continue to do that.
Secretary of the Environment Ben Grumbles, sir, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jeff.
For the Political Roundtable this week, MPT Sue Copen, joined by Will Ford of the Washington Informer. Thank you both for being here. It's been a really busy week, despite the fact that the end of the legislature is still 10 days away. Let's talk about this kind of second end of session deadline.
Well, as you know, this all stems from the fact that there are a number of bills that might get a governor's veto, and they want to get them up there in enough time so they'll have time to consider a veto override before sine die hits. You know, this is the end of the 4-year cycle. So this group isn't coming back, and there's no taking up vetoes. As I understand it, the rules say in the new session. So it's the deadline is here for those kinds of bills, and that's what's happened.
Well, what do you make of that? And then we can also talk about the paid family leave bill that you've been covering.
The lawmakers wanted to definitely make sure that when you get across the finish line, if there's a way politically you can override the governor's veto, especially with a Democratic supermajority, you do it. And this week was it. And in regards to paid family leave, it almost became a little dicey. The Senate Finance Committee, they had a 6-5 vote to move it out to concur with what the House did. It was very tight. Senator Malcolm Augustine, he actually called it, quote, a hot mess because of some of the changes, but he still passed it anyway.
I guess you get into the bicameral legislature stuff a little bit with tensions on issues between the House and Senate, and which actually seemed to me to be lessened a bit in the era of Republican governors. That used to be all the tension we had was historically a more conservative Senate and a more liberal House battling on issues. But let's dig into this the family leave bill a little bit. When will that show up in the HR office and start to affect individual workers around the state?
Well, according to the legislature, well, let me go back. Well, first of all, governor has about up to 6 days to either veto it, do anything, or just sign it into law. There's been folks who are saying they preparing for him to override it automatically. Now, within the bill, which is interesting, is a study for the State Department of Labor to analyze to see if this would be viable and whether the 75 for employers and 75% for employees, and 25% for employers will work. So, and that was one of the major issues in the Senate Finance Committee, because the percentage wasn't going to be locked into that percentage. It could be, Labor could say, well, 65-35. It could be 50-50. And J.B. Jennings and Stephen Hershey, those Republican senators, that was one of their main crux, saying it would have hurt small businesses.
So a lot of steps, even after there's going to be a veto and an override, before people know the final form of all this. Sue, I wanted to ask you about the marijuana debate, the cannabis debate in the Senate today. That was the last stop for that bill before the governor's desk, but the referendum part wouldn't go to the governor's desk.
Yeah, and initially there was some understanding that the Senate was not inclined to approve the referendum issue, making it a constitutional amendment. And there was a good deal of debate on that on the floor because of that, saying why this issue's been around for a number of years, and this is the first time the proposal for the constitutional amendment, of course, that's a House bill. But they went ahead with it, and it was approved just before a bill signing this afternoon, and made it through. One of the opponents on the floor said, look, we're not done with this because we still don't have all of the details worked out. And there was some concern raised that this may still yet end up in the courts as they move forward on it. The presumption is that the polls have overwhelmingly shown Marylanders to support moving to recreational cannabis for 21, someone 21 and older. So why is the need to go this route? But again, this now sits on the governor's desk along with another enabling piece of legislation which complements it. So, we'll have to wait and see what the governor does with it.
Before we go, April Fool's Day, which we have avoided mentioning so far in this program, it did come up on the Senate floor.
It did. President Ferguson, as things were wrapping up, said we have good news, bad news. The good news is the desk is clear, which is the way of saying our business is done for the moment. But he goes, the bad news is, we still have some work to do. There's a bill signing at 3, so we're going to have to come back here a little later in the afternoon. And there was a momentary silence and then groans. And then he goes, basically, April Fool.
So they bought it for just that second. That's great.
You could hear the groans. It was not the moment was had.
Sue and Will, we got to leave it there. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
And that is State Circle for this week. Join us every week at this time as we bring the State House to your house. Monday on Direct Connection, tackling your taxes. Get money-saving answers to your questions. Monday evening, live at 7. Now for all of us at MPT, thanks for watching and have a good night.
Programs on MPT are made possible by our members and the following.
Claim your future through UMBC's new graduate programs in software engineering. Providing modern approaches to software development and implementation, UMBC's faculty is ready to help connect you to resources and opportunities in this in-demand field. Salisbury University educates